They barely noticed her when she boarded. A quiet woman, early 30s, hair tied in a low braid, eyes hidden behind dark glasses. Just another passenger on Flight 237 from London to New York. No one knew her name. No one cared. But 3 hours later, the whole plane would whisper it like a prayer. The cabin was calm that afternoon. Children slept. Laptops clicked. A baby cried somewhere near the back, and a flight attendant hurried past with a warm smile. In seat 14C, the woman sat still, almost too still, fingers tracing the edge of a small silver pendant around her neck. It had a single engraving, Falcon. "Would you like something to drink, ma'am?" the steward asked kindly. She looked up, startled. "Oh, just water, please." Her voice was soft, controlled, but something in it, a slight firmness, made the attendant pause. He couldn't explain why, but it sounded like the kind of voice that used to give orders, the kind that once held authority. An hour later, turbulence began. The lights flickered. A few nervous laughs rippled through the cabin. The captain's calm voice came through the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're hitting a rough patch. Please fasten your seatbelts." Nothing unusual, until the announcement cut off mid-sentence. A moment of silence. Then a sudden thud from the cockpit. 2 flight attendants rushed forward. The door remained locked. Knocking. Panic. Whispered voices. Something was wrong. A minute later, the co-pilot's voice cracked through the intercom. Shaky. Strained. Is there a doctor on board?" Passengers froze. Hands shot up. A few doctors, a nurse. They hurried to the front. But then, 5 minutes later, the intercom returned. Only this time, there was no calmness left. "Both pilots are unconscious. We're trying to contact ground control." Gasps filled the cabin. Someone began to pray. Another cried quietly into their hands. In seat 14C, the woman slowly removed her glasses. Her eyes, cold, sharp, focused, scanned the cabin. Not fear, not confusion, just calculation. She unbuckled her seatbelt and stood. "Ma'am, please sit down," a flight attendant said, panicked. But she didn't. She reached into her bag and pulled out something metallic. A small headset. Not a phone. Not a gadget. Pilot's comm device. The air marshal, sitting 3 rows behind, immediately stood, hand near his concealed weapon. "Miss, I need you to stay seated," he ordered. She turned to him, calm. "I know what's happening. Let me through." His hand hovered. "And who exactly are you?" She met his eyes. For a moment, the cabin went silent. Only the sound of the engines filled the air. Then she whispered, "Ex-Air Force. Call sign. Falcon." The air marshal froze. He'd heard that name before. Every pilot had. The woman they called Falcon, the one who disappeared after an accident no one talked about. He lowered his hand slowly. "Ma'am, the cockpit's yours." She nodded once. Then, without hesitation, she walked down the aisle as terrified passengers watched. Some whispered. Some prayed. But one little girl in seat 17 smiled up at her and said, "You're going to save us, aren't you?" The woman paused, looked down, and for the first time her expression softened. "I'll try," she whispered, but inside her hands were trembling, because the last time she flew a plane, people didn't survive. The cockpit door closed behind her with a heavy click. The sound echoed through her bones. Too familiar. Too close to a memory she'd spent years trying to bury. 2 pilots lay slumped over their controls. Oxygen masks hung uselessly from their faces. No signs of life, just stillness. She checked their pulses. Weak, but there. "Come on," she whispered. "Stay with me." Her fingers moved fast, steady despite the tremor beneath her skin. She tilted the captain's head, adjusted his airway, checked oxygen flow. Nothing. Then her eyes lifted to the controls. Lights blinking, alarms flashing, altitude dropping. For a second, just a second, her breath hitched. Her heart knew this rhythm. She'd heard it before. The sound of a dying aircraft. Behind her, the intercom buzzed. "Ma'am, this is the air marshal. We're losing altitude fast. What's your plan?" She grabbed the headset and pressed the button. Ground control, this is Flight 237. Both pilots are incapacitated. I'm taking control. A beat of silence. Then a startled voice replied, "Identify yourself, ma'am." She hesitated. The name felt heavy on her tongue. Lieutenant Evelyn Hart. Call sign Falcon. The silence that followed wasn't technical. It was emotional. "Ma'am," the voice said quietly, "you were presumed dead." Her throat tightened. "Not today." The plane shook violently. Altitude warning blared. Passengers screamed behind the locked door. Evelyn took the captain's seat. Her fingers slid across the panel like an old friend. "Okay," she whispered. "Let's dance again." But as she gripped the control column, her vision blurred. Not from fear, but from memory. Another cockpit. Another storm. Her co-pilot screaming her name. "Falcon, pull up. Pull up." And then fire. Flames licking across the windshield. Her best friend's voice fading into static. She blinked hard, forcing the image away. "Not now." The air marshal's voice broke through again. "Evelyn, passengers are panicking. We need reassurance." She didn't answer right away. Her focus was locked on the horizon. The nose steadied. The alarms stopped screaming. She exhaled slowly, like releasing a decade of guilt. Then pressed the intercom. "This is Evelyn Hart. I was a pilot once. I'm taking control of this plane. We're going to be okay." A stunned silence filled the cabin. Then somewhere someone clapped. Then another. And for the first time since takeoff, hope returned to the air. But deep inside, Evelyn knew this wasn't over. Something didn't add up. Two pilots collapsing mid-flight? At the same time, she scanned the control log. Everything seemed normal. Fuel levels steady. Cabin pressure fine. Then she saw it. A faint light blinking on the lower left panel. Environmental override. She frowned. That's not standard. Her fingers hovered above the switch. The thought hit her. This wasn't an accident. She flipped the switch, and the oxygen alarm screamed again. Someone had tampered with the system. Her blood ran cold. If the override had stayed on 5 more minutes, everyone on board would have blacked out. She pressed the comms again. "Marshal, lock the cockpit door. No one comes in or out. We've got sabotage." Gasps and murmurs erupted behind the door. The air marshal's voice dropped low. "Sabotage? You mean someone did this on purpose?" "Yes," she whispered. "And they're still on board." A chill spread through the cabin as the announcement hit. Whispers. Eyes darting. No one knew who to trust. In the cockpit, Evelyn's reflection stared back at her from the glass. Pale, haunted, steady. The Falcon was flying again. But this time the enemy wasn't outside. It was sitting somewhere among them. She closed her eyes, whispering to herself, "Please, not again." And then her earpiece crackled with a sound that froze her blood, a voice she hadn't heard in years. "Hello, Falcon," it said softly. "Miss me?" For a few seconds, she couldn't breathe. That voice, it didn't belong to a stranger. It belonged to the man she had buried in her memory, Captain Michael Reed, her co-pilot, her best friend, the man who died the night the Falcon fell from the sky. "Michael?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Static crackled. Then the same calm, familiar tone, too real to be imagination. "Easy now, Falcon. You've got quite the situation up there." Her fingers gripped the headset tighter. "Who is this?" "This frequency's restricted." A low chuckle. "Oh, come on. You know my voice." Evelyn froze. Every instinct screamed it couldn't be him. He was gone. She had seen the wreckage. And yet, the voice matched. The rhythm. The teasing calm. The way he used to say her name. "Michael, you died." "Did I?" The voice dropped to a whisper. "Or did someone make you believe that?" A violent tremor shook the plane. Warning lights flashed. Evelyn fought the controls, forcing the aircraft level again. Her heart pounded, but not from fear, from confusion. "Who are you?" she said through gritted teeth. The voice sighed. "You left me to burn, Falcon. You told the court it was my fault. But we both know the truth. Her eyes filled with tears. No, you lost control. I tried to. Liar. The word cut like a blade. For a moment the cockpit blurred. The past rushed in, fire, metal, his hand reaching toward hers, then slipping away into darkness. She shook her head hard. This wasn't real. Couldn't be. Then the air marshal's voice broke through the intercom. Evelyn, we've got chaos back here. Someone's panicking near row 17. A man collapsed. Her stomach turned cold. Another collapse, just like the pilot's. She opened the oxygen regulator. Marshal, keep everyone seated and mask them immediately. It's spreading. Spreading. It's not just sabotage, she said, voice trembling. It's chemical. Her headset crackled again. Now you see it, Falcon. You're flying a trap, the same kind they used on me. Her hand hovered above the comm switch. If you're real, if you're actually Michael, tell me where you are. I'm on your flight. The world stopped. She glanced at the passenger list on the cockpit screen. 168 names. None that said Michael Reed. Her chest tightened. Prove it. He chuckled. Row 17A. Window seat. The little girl who smiled at you? Her father. You didn't even look twice. Evelyn's blood ran cold. That girl. She'd smiled so innocently. Why? She whispered. Why are you doing this? Because the truth deserves to fly too, he said. Tell them what really happened to Flight 82. Tell them you caused it. Her vision blurred with tears. That's not true, she shouted. It was a systems failure. Then prove it. The voice hissed. Land this plane. Save them. Let's see if you've changed. The transmission cut. Silence. Evelyn sat back, shaking. Her pulse thundered in her ears. Her fingers trembled over the controls, but her voice, steady. Ground control, we have a new threat on board. Possible suspect in row 17A. I repeat, 17A. Copy that, Falcon, came the calm reply. Maintain heading. Help is inbound. But she wasn't calm, because now the battle wasn't just for the plane, it was for her past. She looked at the cracked reflection of herself in the glass. Haunted, exhausted, a woman still flying with ghosts. The air marshal's voice returned. Evelyn, the man in 17A just stood up. He's holding something. Her heart stopped. What is it? Looks like a detonator. Evelyn's hands went cold. She whispered, Michael, what have you done? The plane felt heavier now, as if everyone could sense the danger breathing among them. A single figure stood in the aisle, one trembling hand clutching something metallic. Row 17A. Just like the voice said, the air marshal was already moving down the aisle, gun drawn but low, calm in his stance. Sir, drop whatever's in your hand. The man didn't move. His shoulders shook. Beside him, the little girl in 17A clutched a stuffed rabbit and whispered, Daddy. Evelyn's voice came through the intercom, calm but edged with fear. Marshal, do not shoot. I'm coming out. The passengers gasped as the cockpit door opened. She stepped into the aisle, the woman in the pilot's seat now walking straight toward the chaos she'd been running from all her life. Her eyes locked on the man. He was older than she remembered, beard streaked with gray. But it was him, Michael Reed. Alive. She whispered his name like a confession. Michael. He looked up. His eyes, same steel blue, same quiet fire. No ghost. No recording. He was real. You shouldn't be here, he said softly. Neither should you, she replied. The air marshal moved closer. Sir, I need you to. Stay back, Michael shouted, holding up the device. It's not a bomb. The marshal hesitated. Evelyn's heart was pounding. What is it then? She asked. He looked at her, eyes full of pain. The truth. He slowly turned the device toward her. A small data module, blinking faintly. Everything they blamed us for, Evelyn. It's all in here. The recordings. The system failure. The cover-up. Her breath caught. You survived that night? He nodded. Barely. They said it was pilot error. They said you froze. They wanted a scapegoat, and you gave them one. Her voice cracked. I thought you were dead. I almost was, he said. But when I woke up, I realized they buried the truth with me. Tears welled in her eyes. She stepped closer. Then why do this? Why risk all these lives? He shook his head. Because no one listens until something breaks again. His hand trembled, the little girl's voice cutting through the tension. Daddy, please stop. You're scaring them. That tiny voice shattered him. He looked down at her, then at Evelyn. His anger faltered, replaced by exhaustion. Evelyn took another step. Michael, let me land this plane. Then we'll tell them together. You, me, we'll clear it all. For a long moment he just stood there. Tears slid down his face. Then slowly he handed her the module. Don't fail them again, Falcon, he whispered. The air marshal rushed forward, cuffing him gently. No violence, just quiet surrender. Evelyn clutched the device to her chest. Her eyes met the little girl's, wide, tearful, but trusting. And for the first time in years, Evelyn believed she could make things right. She turned, walking back toward the cockpit. Every passenger watched her in stunned silence. A stranger minutes ago, now the only one who could save them all. Inside the cockpit, she took the controls. The storm clouds had cleared. The ocean shimmered below like silver glass. She whispered, "Hold together, old bird. One last flight." But as she adjusted altitude, the engines groaned. Warning lights flickered again. The fuel line was leaking. Her voice broke through the intercom. Calm, steady, heartbreaking. Everyone, brace for impact. The cabin erupted in prayer and silence. And Evelyn closed her eyes. Silence. Then screaming wind. Metal howling. The plane shaking like it was caught between worlds. Evelyn's hands gripped the controls. Every muscle trembled, but her voice stayed calm. Come on, Falcon. Not again. The ground raced closer. Clouds tore apart. Mountains glimmered in the distance. Through her headset, Michael's voice broke the static. You've got this. Level out. Trust your instincts. She almost smiled. After everything, the lies, the fear, the ghosts. His voice still steadied her. Copy that, she whispered. She focused. Left engine sputtering. Right stabilizer jammed. Altitude dropping, 5,000 feet. For 200, she breathed in slowly. Passengers first. Fear later. Then she pressed the intercom. This is your pilot. I need you all to hold on tight. We're not crashing. We're landing, just not the way we planned. Somewhere, someone started clapping again. Others cried quietly. And that little girl, Seventina, whispered, You can do it. Evelyn smiled through tears. At 3,000 feet, the right wing clipped turbulence. The plane lurched sideways. Her body slammed against the harness. Pain shot through her ribs. Falcon, pull up. Michael's voice echoed, half memory, half reality. And this time she did. She pulled with everything she had, every ounce of strength, every regret, every prayer she'd ever whispered in silence. The plane leveled. Engines screamed. Runway lights blinked through the haze ahead. They weren't going to die today. When the wheels finally hit the tarmac, the aircraft bounced once, twice, then rolled to a grinding stop. Silence. Then cheers. Cries. Laughter. Evelyn's hands shook violently. She didn't realize she was crying until she saw the tears hit the console. The air marshal burst into the cockpit. Holy hell, you did it. She looked up at him, exhausted. We did it. Behind him, paramedics rushed in. Passengers hugged strangers. The little girl ran toward her father, still in cuffs but free of guilt. Evelyn handed the data module to the marshal. Get this to the authorities. It's the truth they tried to bury. Hours later, as the sun rose over the runway, Evelyn stood by the ambulance. Her hair was messy, her uniform smeared with sweat and ash. But her eyes were clear. Michael sat nearby, wrapped in a blanket, his daughter sleeping against his arm. He looked at her quietly. I thought you'd never forgive me. She smiled faintly. Maybe I just needed to forgive myself first. He nodded. You saved them. You always could. Evelyn looked up at the dawn. The first light reflected on the silver wings of the plane, wounded, but still standing. Just like her. She whispered to herself, "Sometimes, you have to fall to learn how to fly again." And as she walked away, her pendant glimmered, the word falcon catching the morning light one last time. Every person has a story worth respect. What would you have done differently? Share your thoughts below.